Hello, everybody. My name is James. I'm in long-term recovery, which means I have not had a drink or drug since May 23rd, 1982. Some of you were not even born. The reality of it is the reality that I was born. You know, I need you all to do something for me to be able to understand what I'm getting ready to do. I'm going to introduce somebody to you all. I need you all to go back in a day when internet was just in an embryonic development. I need you to go back when cell phones were this big. I need you to go back when every Oxford house had a stack of applicants about this thick trying to get in Oxford house. Let you envision what it was like then. Let me tell you what happened. We have people who have these dreams. I don't know where they come from and how they got there. But Paul had a dream. And he used the word today, crazy. Paul had this crazy dream back then. And when you speak about Oxford House, it was at 13 houses. Paul said we should have 1,000. And everybody said, this man has lost his mind. They had no vision. And even I, myself, who lived in Oxford House pretty good while, did not have that vision. And I couldn't buy into that vision. Just think about this. With 13 houses, and Paul said we're going to have 1,000. And we have one house out of the city of Washington. And Paul puts this letter out. I want y'all to envision this. It said that if you had lived in Oxford House for 6 months and you wanted to go out and spread the word, we'll give you X amount of money. I think it's like $400 a week to go out there and spread the word. Now, all these old timers said, he has lost his mind. So he had a little letter that came out to every house. To, if you wanted to get a part of this thing, come up to the Oxford House Club. There's a club up there. So you had to come to the club to be interviewed. So I went up there and I sat there and I heard Paul give this spiel. And I walked out and I went home and I told all the guys what Paul said. And I said, he's talking about sending me or somebody to Washington State, to Arkansas, wherever it was going, South Carolina, North Carolina. I say, he has lost his mind. So I didn't go, and the other guys didn't go, and they all of them said, well, Paul's going to mess this whole thing up. We got a good thing going, and he's going to really, really mess it up. He's going to send these people 6 months out into this wild blue yonder to talk about Oxford House. So we sat around and we watched this whole thing develop. But there were some guys who felt like that it's a nice way to get out of town. You get paid. You know, you travel. It's travel. It's a nice way to go. And we thought they were crazy also. How can you stay in Oxford House for 6 months, leave and go to another state and talk about Oxford House and convince somebody to rent a house to you? That is impossible to do. There was no internet to look up and see if we existed. It had to be by word of mouth. I got to go in here and tell these people about this organization in Washington, D.C. that they can start up here that's going to work. And I'll tell you something. There were not many people who could do this. Somehow, Paul, in his infinite wisdom, he had, I don't know where it comes from. I think it must come from Vermont. He could see things. So Kathleen and I talked about it in their days. He could see things. Now, I say he could see them because he had Jane. And that's what I say. But he could see things. And it was amazing how he could see things. And so as this whole thing developed, these people went out. One of the guys that went out, I had never even seen him. Because let me say something to you. We had no chapters then. We had no office. We had nothing. But Paul, Marley, Jane, and a few others. We had 13 houses that existed very, very well that everybody wanted to be a part of. This guy goes out, and now you're hearing these good things about him. Boy, he's up here in Washington State, what happened? Did they throw him out of the state? No, 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 he's still up there. He's somewhere else. He kept going places. Now, I heard about this fellow, but I didn't really know him until one day I turned on my television. Let me look at something. Everybody watched 60 Minutes in those days. See, it wasn't like we had all these cable channels and all that crap. Sunday nights you watch 60 Minutes.
That's right. That's right.
Sunday nights you turn your TV on, I don't care what you was doing, and you're going to watch 60 Minutes. And I tell you, they said, everybody, look at television tonight. Look. For the first week it didn't show. The next week I'm sitting in front of my television, I see this television, and they said, Oxford House. I said, well, I don't believe what I'm seeing. I really don't believe this. I'm sorry. My whole house was sitting there. Now, we got the feeling kind of bad because we didn't get on tour. But this one guy, he went out there and he did something. I don't know how he done it. He listened to Paul, and he got this dream in his head also, and he believed that he could actually do this. Now, I want you to think about this. He leaves Washington with like 6, 7 months clean, maybe 9. He gets on a plane, and he goes all the way to Washington State to tell these people about Oxford House. And done it successfully. Think about this. It was long distance to call Paul. You just couldn't pick up the phone like yourself. When long distance call, they call him back and say, hey, I'm having these problems. But this guy done it. And for that, everybody here has had the opportunity to see the 60-minute tape and see this guy walking down this alley. And I know that sometimes you wonder if these people are still clean and sober who did this 60-minute tape. I know you're wondering that. But let me tell you something. As I live and breathe, Mark Spence is right here. So for that, but just for that, for being here, being clean and sober, and being a person on a 60-minute tape, to show you all what works and how it works, I'm going to let him tell this story. Mark Spence, come up, please.
Hello, family. My name is Mark, and I'm an addict.
Hey, Mark.
Damn, James made me feel like I'm important. I've done something, you know. And only thing I did was do what I was told to do. You know, through the grace of God, I have 25 years clean. I was a crackhead. It's important that I tell you where I was at on December the 9th, 1988. I was coming off a 5-day binge in an alley. In a car, I actually ended up using that same car to work for Oxford. I was my license was dead. I had no insurance on my car. I had no money. My job had just fired me. I was filthy dirty. I looked real good on paper. I actually have a degree in banking and finance, and I was working for this investment firm. I was working also part-time with Safeway. I joined the Army Reserve, all that stuff. But I ended up in this alley with nothing. Filthy. I had just gave the crack dealer my leather jacket just so I could get one more hit. And I just sat around in that car after hours, and I was like, oh my God, I gotta get some help. Please help me. And I went home to my mom, and I had one of them praying moms. That's what she did. She prayed. You know, we good Catholics, you know. She prayed a whole lot for me. And she was in the house, all the lights on. So you can envision this. I'm coming in after a 5-day binge, just beat up, and your mother's sitting in the front room with every light on in the house, you know, welcoming you in, saying, son, I'm gonna try to help you, get some help. Through the grace of God, like I said, I had a part-time job at Safeway, and I had insurance, and so I went to treatment for 2 weeks, because that's all my insurance would pay for, was 2 weeks, because I told them I was an alcoholic. I told them I was a crackhead. Because in the 80s in the DC area, it was an epidemic, and people were dying, getting murdered. It was a mess. You know, and I had fell into that. I mean, and I remember my mom, she come to see me in treatment, she was like, I mean, that's the reason I put you in private school from kindergarten all the way through high school, so you can stay away from it, you end up doing it anyway. You know what I mean? But I truly feel that I was born with this disease of addictive behavior. See, looking back now when you clean and you know, you kind of do some inventory, I always was obsessed with stuff, like school. You know, I was raised Catholic, and I was an altar boy, and I just had to be the best altar boy. I was the president of the altar boy. I was in a chess club. You know, I wanted to play basketball, but I was this little chubby little boy, so I worked real hard and lost weight and ended up getting a scholarship to college, you know, playing basketball. I was just obsessed with stuff. Once I got on something, and so it was just a matter of time, and you pick up that crack. You know, pick up the alcohol, the drugs, you know. It was a mess. I actually never used drugs, never had sex. I think I may have kissed a girl twice before I went to college. So I was 19 years old before I even, like, kind of kissed a girl, really like tongue kiss. You know, part of my story is I was raised Catholic, and I actually thought I wanted to be a priest. You know, I just thought that'd be cool, being a black priest. I was like, man, you know, I could be like the first black pope. But I had this young lady my sophomore year in college, and she put her tongue in my ear. I put my head down, I said, I could never be a priest. This feels too good. And the rest is history. I've been on a mission ever since. I'm telling you, I mean, it's just amazing, you know, what comes at you, you know, in life. I want to pause for a minute, and I just need to thank the Oxford House concept, because before I moved into an Oxford House, I grew up in an apartment, so we didn't even get the water bill. Like Paul said, back in the day, we didn't get the electric bill. You paid one fee. My parents paid one fee, and everything was done. I didn't have to shovel. I didn't do none of that stuff because everything was done in the apartment that I lived in. I didn't see a water bill, gas bill, electric bill until I moved into an Oxford House. You know? I literally moved into an Oxford House. So, I mean, I kind of owe just being responsible adult to an Oxford House. And Paul, I just want to thank you, man, for your vision. Yes. And, you know, it's just unbelievable that a crackhead, you know, could end up, you know, with 25 years clean. Yes. You know, it's just this, and I'm a one-timer. I'm not one of those people that went to treatment 2, 3, 4 times, and you know, and then burnt bridges over here. I went to treatment one time. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I remember that alley. You know, I play the tape to the end. I don't stop at the fun part with the marijuana and the cognac and the girls. I ended up in a goddamn alley with nothing. That's where I started. And so when I moved into an Oxford House, I was blessed because, well, let me just go back a teeny bit. The first house I went to after leaving treatment, I had put on a suit because they said you had an interview, so we didn't have many houses. So I put my suit on and my briefcase. Paul tells this story all the time. But here's the deal. I set up 2 interviews, okay? And The first interview I went on, the day after I left treatment, I set it up, put my suit on, had my briefcase, went and knocked on the door. How y'all doing? I'm Mark Spence. I'm here for an interview. So they sat me down. They talked about, you know, the rules and regulations, and they was talking. I was just looking around. I was like, damn, y'all need some new curtains in here. And I was just talking, this crazy. And so after the little meeting was over, they said, well, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the back and you stay here. We're going to vote to see whether you can get in the house. And they came back fast. I was like, oh shit, I'm in. Good, I'm in. They said, we didn't accept you. I said, why? I mean, I've been to treatment. I'm doing the right thing, trying to get some help. I can't. They told me that my mother was enabling me. I had to get up out of there. They said, listen, you wasn't talking anything about recovery, about going to meetings, about things that you learned in the program. And the next day, thank God, I had another interview set up. I rang that doorbell, and they opened that door. First thing I said, keep coming back, keep sitting every day. You know, because I wanted to live. And then in that house, it was 16 men that lived in that house, right? And I remember I had the little interview, and this is a huge part of my story, because, you know, I had phobias growing up. You know, like if people were gay or people had issues, you know, I didn't bother them, but I wasn't open-minded, you know. And they said, we accept you in the house, and Billy is going to be your roommate. I would say, well, who the hell is Billy? You know, I like to do that. And there was a guy in the corner say, hi, I'm Billy. You gotta picture this. I'm in a house with 16 men. I got about 2 weeks clean. They tell me Billy's gonna be my roommate. I gotta walk through somebody else's room to get to my room, and it's just like a mattress on the floor. Wasn't in the box spring, you know, but the house was clean. Guys in there were going to meetings. And that's when the first time I realized that all that stuff I've been hearing me about principles, or, you know, principles over personalities. The bottom line is Billy had 6 months clean, and I had 2 weeks clean. You know, he could help me before I could help him. And he ain't want my black ass no way. he was in front of it. I don't want you no way. You know, but he ended up my best roommate. So when I was in this house, we actually, they ran this house. We had our meetings every week. I remember the third day I was in there, we had an emergency meeting. This one guy they thought was using. And they didn't know what he was using, but his behavior, he was acting like he was using. I mean, he was just loud, he was bothering folks, and so the next day I came home from work, his stuff was sitting on the front, bagged up. I said, they ain't playing in here. You know, they are not playing in here. See, in those days, we could kind of put people out. You had to call the police, you just set this stuff outside and dare them to call the police. And dare them to say something. Because it was about that house, you know. In the beginning, you know, we just wanted it, man. And I happened to meet my sponsor in that house, and he was a guy that was working the program. And I didn't like him at first because he was cooler than me, you know. And he ended up a real blessing for me, because he was actually going out helping with the houses in the area, and I wanted what he had, so I did what he did. I went to work, I went to meetings, you know, and I helped out with houses. And then he's the one that told me that Oxford Inc. had got some federal legislation passed. They thought about, you know, sending people around, and I'm working at Safeway at the grocery store with a degree in banking and finance. I said, well, damn, that sounds a little better than that. So I went over, interviewed with Paul, and we hit it off right away, because we both Irish Catholics. I've been in Catholic school from kindergarten all the way through college, so nobody could be more Catholic than me. So we used to kind of little battle with that thing. I'm like, man, I'm Catholic. I'm black Catholic. So So he told me about, you know, actually he wanted to start the concept and travel all around the country, and he had a couple people out there already, and I was just so excited because it turned my life completely around. I was going to work on time, I was going to my meetings, I was productive, I was going to see my parents, they were happy I was out the house. You know, this little stuff you don't think about now, but you've been clean for a while, you know what I mean? Just the basic stuff. I was making my bed, I eventually got a box spring, you know, a frame, you know what I mean? But it was mine, it was my space, it was clean, you know what I mean? And I was doing what I was supposed to do. You know, obviously I got an increase in pay because I wasn't smoking crack anymore. So, I mean, and Paul asked me if I wanted to go out, so he sent me to Wheeling, West Virginia first, which just happened to be my college hometown. So I went to Wheeling and I went to Pittsburgh at first, and man, I just had a ball with it, you know. And Wheeling was kind of tough because I had to stay with this professor that I went to college with, because back in the day, man, we didn't have a whole lot of money. I was telling somebody that I used to wait for Charles. Charles was the guy, the finance guy, and you had to wait for him to get the money in for you to receive money. You know, so I could be out there like, and I smoked Newports at the time. I smoked Newports, not nothing else. So, you know, they were a little bit more expensive than the other things. So, you know, it was tough, man, but we were on a mission, you know, to make this thing, you know, work. And I'm so proud of y'all, how far this has come. This is like unbelievable, like James said, we had like 13, 14 houses. I think we were in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, you know, some places, and I'm like, man, this is incredible. When you think of it, because Paul used to walk around with his pipe. About 10,000 houses in 5 years, you know. But he had that vision, you know, he wanted it for all, you know. And so like I was in Pittsburgh and West Virginia, and then Paul, he called me. I remember it was like late June of 1990. And he said, man, I need you to go out to Seattle, Washington. I was like, okay. Go out to Seattle, Washington. So I packed up, got the tickets, and so I'm on this airplane flying out to Seattle, and it was 4th of July weekend coming up. And so while I was on the plane, I saw all these people with these one day at a time shirts and all these recovery folks going out there. I was like, where y'all going? They said the World AA Convention is out there, 50 years at the Kingdom. I was like, what? So it was like God. It's like I'm on a plane going to open up Oxford houses, on a plane with folks from AA, and we were all going out there. You know, it was just amazing. And one of the real reasons that people give me a lot of credit for the Washington area, but Washington, he was so ready for the Oxford House concept. I mean, when I got off that plane, they had somebody pick me up. They had an outpatient treatment center lady that took me around, introduced me to a landlord. Now, I had to sell the concept, but I had support. We had support from the state, from everybody in recovery, and I just did what I was supposed to do. I was spreading the message about Oxford House, and today they said they got like 240 houses. It's like incredible. You know, and they're trying to open up more, you know. I remember being out there, and Paul once again called me and said, man, well, I think we are going to have an opportunity to go on 60 Minutes, and probably need you to say something to the producer. So I said, you know, I'm way out here in the state of Washington, so they actually had a crew from, that worked the San Francisco 49ers games, and they came out to interview me out in Seattle. Now, you only saw like 5 minutes of me on that tape, but those folks were with me for like almost a week. I mean, every move I made, just imagine you being an outreach worker and camera crews just following you around everywhere you go. I mean, I felt like Michael Jackson at the time. You know? This is incredible. You know? This is absolutely incredible. So what they did was they actually, you know, they wanted to see the lay. I told them, I'm born and raised in Washington, D.C., and I took my last hit of crack right at U in Rhode Island Avenue Northwest, and they flew me first class first class to an alley. So when you guys see me, you see me walking around in the back of this house. I'm in Seattle, because you see the Puget Sound in the background. Then I'm walking in the alley where I took my last hit of crack at, and they flew me first class. You know, and so it's just been an unbelievable time for me with this Oxford House thing. It's one of the things I also wanted to say was that like I said, I have a degree in banking and finance, so I never wanted to work at a bank. I don't know why I even made it in that, you know. And so one of the things Oxford House allowed me to do is to find myself as far as doing marketing and actually, you know, finding myself as, you know, an employee, becoming a good employer. You know, I absolutely loved what I did. I loved it. You know, I wanted to share. Paul would, you know, send me to, then I think he sent me to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and El Paso, Texas. Then he told me, Mark, you got to go to the U.S. Virgin Islands. So I got a good story about the Virgin Islands. So I'm over the U.S. Virgin Islands. He actually already had somebody over there, but they need a little help. So I go over there, and they decide they want to put me on the radio. And now you got to picture this now. Everybody in the islands get high. A lot of people, it's like 50,000 people on this island, and everybody basically, that's what they do. You know? So I'm going on a radio program in the United States Virgin Islands talking about recovery. Okay, so the program comes on. Hey there, we got a gentleman here that came from way up north to come down here to tell us about recovery. And so we was talking, me and him was going back and forth, and he said, now you can call in. Ain't nobody calling in. Nobody. So what happened was he went to a commercial break, and the phones lit up. As soon as he went to a commercial break, the phones lit up. It's like, man, I need help, but I'm not gonna get on no radio. You know, telling folks I need help, but it's been an unbelievable time. I actually wanted to stay with Oxford House, but I wanted to get married also. And you can't travel. One of the reasons I was able to travel like that, when James talked about who's gonna be traveling all around the country, I wasn't married. You know, I could do what I had, no children, I wasn't married, I wasn't doing nothing else, shit. So, but I wanted to get married, and so we talked about it, and I ended up getting a job doing marketing with a drug treatment program, and I did really, really well, and ended up married, and I'm married now, and I have a son that's 15 years old, and I'm very proud. Both of my parents are still alive. My father's 78, and my mom is 74. You know, so I've been extremely blessed, and it's all because of this concept. I didn't know how to live until I came in an Oxford House. I swear, I didn't know how to live. I mean, when I even was in college, I didn't even have to wash clothes because they had people doing it for us because I was on an athletic scholarship. I mean, I had to wash clothes, wash your dishes, you know what I mean? And those fines would wake you up in me, especially if you're going to work every day. And back then, our fines was $25 to $50. Back then, so that's a whole lot of money. And if you didn't pay it in 1 week, it doubled. And if the following week, if you couldn't pay it, they putting you out. You know, so the concept works if you work it. It's just as simple as that. No drinking and drugs. Pay your rent on time and get along with the people you live with. That's the basic concept, and you have to stay with it. You know, this is I feel like in life there's givers and there's takers. I feel like I'm a giver. And I feel like everybody in this room is a giver. You know what I mean? Because in order for you to want to do something like this, you have to want to give. You know, because you have to give a lot of yourself, you know, your personal time also. I mean, you really, you know, this is your life. You know, because you're helping this grow. And then like Kathleen said, like some of you guys probably need to look at, if you've been here a long time and you feel like you're tired of it, you probably need to move on. That's what happened to me. I needed to move on. But now I'm back in the space where I'm comfortable with doing this again, you know? So you need to take a look at that, really. You know, just don't do it just because you can do it. Do it because you love to do it, you know? And then spread it on. Somebody else is out there waiting for an opportunity, you know? For real, because it's all about helping and giving. Thanks for allowing me to share.